It looked like audited AI revenue. The DOJ alleges learning engines fabricated virtually all of it. The DOJ just charged executives at an AI company with fraud. Investors and lenders allegedly relied on those financials. The board reviewed and certified them. Learning engines reported revenue from an AI education platform. The DOJ alleges the company fabricated virtually all of its customer relationships and revenues. Auditors reviewed financial statements the company allegedly misrepresented. No system was hacked. No credentials were stolen. The alleged scheme used sham contracts and fake customers, not a cyber breach. Every organization that funded an AI company based on AI revenue claims is now asking the same question. Here is the gap this indictment just defined. Learning engines presented itself as an AI-driven education platform. It reported revenue, at least on paper. It attracted institutional investors and lenders who allegedly relied on those figures. It had a board that reviewed and certified its financials. It had auditors who reviewed the financial statements the company provided. This is the chain of oversight that is supposed to catch fabricated numbers. Institutional review, board certification, independent audit. Each layer exists specifically to prevent this outcome. Every layer passed. The DOJ indictment, a 10-count charging document alleging securities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy against former CEO Harish Chidambaran and former CFO Farhan Naqvi, doesn't describe a company that evaded oversight through technical sophistication. It describes a company that allegedly went through oversight and came out the other side with fabricated revenue intact. The question the indictment raises isn't how the executives did it. The question is why the frameworks around them didn't catch it. That is the gap this episode is about. AI revenue claims may carry a specific audit vulnerability. That vulnerability, if it exists, is structural, not limited to learning engines. Standard financial due diligence runs 3 review layers. Financial statement review confirms numbers are consistently reported. Metric reporting review confirms the metrics align with the financials. Contract documentation review confirms a contractual basis for the revenue. Each methodology was built for traditional software or services revenue models. Many due diligence frameworks may not specifically test how AI functionality is attributed to revenue claims. When a company says its AI platform generated revenue, standard audit confirms that the number appears consistently in the financials, that supporting metrics align, and that contracts exist. What many frameworks may not confirm is whether the AI functionality is actually producing what the revenue attribution claims. According to the DOJ, learning engines fabricated virtually all its customer relationships and revenues. The investors and lenders who funded the company ran standard due diligence. That standard due diligence may not have been designed to interrogate whether the underlying customers and AI-attributed revenue were real. The AI narrative wasn't background. According to the DOJ, it was the mechanism. Loop 1 opens if standard due diligence may be insufficient to verify AI revenue attribution. What verification framework actually closes this gap? The DOJ indictment alleges sham contracts and fabricated customer relationships as the core of the scheme. According to the DOJ press release and Reuters coverage, the company fabricated virtually all its customer relationships and revenues. Each alleged layer was designed to survive the particular review it was most likely to face. Layer 1, sham contracts. The indictment alleges learning engines recorded contracts as revenue that were tied to fake customers. The contracts were real documents. Standard financial statement review confirms contracts exist. What standard review may not confirm is whether the underlying customers and performance obligations were real. The DOJ alleges that GAAP was the entry point. Layer 2. Fabricated customer relationships. According to the DOJ, the company created fake customer relationships, entities that appeared in documentation but did not represent real commercial activity. Standard contract documentation review confirms a contract exists. It confirms an invoice was issued. According to the DOJ, the customer relationship itself was allegedly fabricated, and contract review alone couldn't surface that. Layer 3. Revenue that had no real operational basis. The indictment alleges the reported revenue figures did not correspond to actual AI platform activity. The financial statements showed consistent numbers. The audit reviewed consistent numbers. According to the DOJ, those numbers were built on alleged fabrications that standard financial statement review wasn't designed to detect. 3 alleged layers, each one designed to pass the specific review it was most likely to encounter. None required defeating the audit. Each required the audit to run exactly as designed, on top of allegedly fabricated inputs. The indictment names 2 defendants, but the questions it raises extend to every organization that funded this company, based on its reported AI revenue. Here is where that exposure line may fall. Federal charges name the executives who allegedly executed the scheme. That's the visible part of the indictment. The less visible part is the set of diligence, governance, and litigation questions it activates for organizations downstream. Investors who funded learning engines based on its reported AI revenue are now in a documented position. According to the indictment, they allegedly relied on financials that were materially false. The question their counsel is now examining: does the due diligence documentation demonstrate adequate verification of the AI revenue claims that justified the investment? Lenders who extended credit against AI revenue figures face a parallel question. The credit decision was based on reported revenue. The DOJ alleges that revenue was fabricated. The lender's review process examined the same financials the auditors reviewed. If many due diligence frameworks may not specifically test AI revenue attribution, the lender's review may have inherited the same structural limitation. Board members who reviewed and certified financials containing the allegedly fabricated AI revenue figures are in a direct position. Board certification is a documented attestation. The DOJ indictment establishes, as an allegation, that the certified financials contained materially false revenue figures. The question is whether the board's oversight included any mechanism to independently verify AI revenue attribution beyond what standard audit provides. The indictment names 2 defendants. The diligence and governance questions it raises may touch every organization in that chain. The question for every organization that funded an AI company based on AI revenue claims is: what does your due diligence documentation show, and does it address AI revenue attribution specifically? The learning engine's indictment may influence how future enforcement expectations around AI revenue claims are shaped. Before this indictment, there was no major DOJ enforcement action specifically involving alleged AI revenue fabrication. Organizations that funded AI companies based on AI revenue claims were operating in a gap that many standard due diligence frameworks didn't address because AI revenue attribution wasn't a defined audit category. That gap now has a DOJ indictment attached to it. As Debevoise noted in their analysis, the DOJ is signaling AI prosecution priorities through this action. The enforcement record establishes, as an allegation, that AI revenue claims can be fabricated in ways that survive standard financial review. That record is now the baseline against which future cases may be evaluated. Board certification of financials containing AI revenue claims carries a different context after this indictment, not because the law changed, because the enforcement signal changed. Prosecutors now have a documented case alleging that AI revenue fabrication survived standard audit. Organizations that certified or funded AI revenue claims without AI-specific verification are operating against a framework that the indictment has now publicly interrogated. This indictment may affect how prior diligence is viewed and will likely influence future diligence expectations. 3 proposed controls address AI revenue verification at the mechanism level. These are analytical proposals mapping directly to the gaps the indictment exposed, not established standards. Proposed control 1. Technical revenue attribution review. Require independent verification of how revenue is attributed to AI functionality. Separate from standard financial audit, conducted by reviewers with AI platform knowledge. The question is not whether a contract exists or whether a metric is consistently reported. The question is whether the AI system is producing the output the revenue attribution claims. That question requires technical expertise the standard audit workflow may not provide. Proposed control 2. Usage-based customer validation. Validate customer relationships against actual platform usage data, not contract documentation alone. A contract proves a contract was signed. Usage data, API call volumes, session records, output logs, provides evidence that the customer relationship is operationally real. The DOJ alleges learning engines fabricated customer relationships that passed contract review. Usage-based validation addresses the gap contract review alone cannot close. Proposed control 3. AI metric disclosure. Require companies to disclose the specific methodology used to calculate AI-attributed revenue, the metric definitions, attribution logic, and measurement approach, enabling comparison against benchmarks and independent assessment. If the methodology cannot be disclosed and assessed, the metric carries unverifiable risk. Decision lens. Every organization currently holding AI company equity or debt underwritten based on AI revenue claims should run one question through its diligence record. Does the documentation show that AI revenue attribution was specifically verified, not just that the financial statements were reviewed? Risk filter. If the answer is no, the gap this indictment defined is present in your diligence record. This is a major DOJ case involving alleged AI revenue fraud. Based on the Debevoise analysis and Reuters reporting, it signals DOJ attention to AI-themed financial schemes, and it provides a documented set of allegations that future prosecutors and defense teams will reference. The next enforcement action in this category won't require establishing from scratch that AI revenue can be alleged as fabricated while surviving standard audit. That narrative is now in the public record. Organizations that funded AI companies using standard due diligence frameworks that may not have addressed AI revenue attribution will face the same documented gap with one fewer claim available that no one had raised the question before. The DOJ named 2 defendants. The questions their indictment raises apply to every organization that funded them. Key claims in this analysis are sourced and attributed. The DOJ indictment, EDNY press release, Reuters reporting, and Debevoise enforcement analysis are linked in the pinned comment below. All DOJ allegations in this episode remain allegations. No guilt has been adjudicated. Subscribe if this analysis is useful. Every episode covers a mechanism your risk briefing probably didn't.